All right, here we go. Hi, folks. I'm Heather Andrade. I am one of the 5 administrators of Keep Metacomet Green, a grassroots group that is intent on keeping Metacomet Country Club green space green, located on the Scenic Veterans Memorial Parkway in East Providence, Rhode Island. All of the Keep Metacomet Green administrators think that East Providence residents need to know some facts about what will happen when the city tries to take eminent domain. We need the numbers. Numbers are being thrown out like crazy, and we'd like to actually give you some facts. And with us today, we have Derek Mendoza, who is a supporter and a numbers guy. And he has done an analysis for us. So let me just welcome you, Derek. Thank you so much for doing this.
Yeah, thank you, Heather. I'm happy to share them.
Oh, and we're more than happy to have you here. So why don't you just tell me a little bit about yourself and who you are and why you became involved in Keep Metacomet Green.
Yeah, so I've been in East Providence my entire life. Same, mostly for my mom. My grandparents actually raised all of my family in Pawtucket, but when I came into the picture for my mom, she really wanted a nicer, safer area to raise her kids. So she brought her to East Providence, and she brought me to East Providence, and I've been here ever since. I've lived in the same house. I went to college, came back, and I looked for other houses for more than a year, but I just couldn't really find anything that had the same community and the same feel of this area. And ultimately, I ended up buying the house off of my mom. She wasn't sure I'd want it because it's really old, as you can tell. I got wood paneling and mirrored walls and all that, so it's been quite a project. But I'm really invested in this community, this area, East Providence. I'm here for the long haul, so it's really important to me, the future.
Well, it sort of proves how invested you are because you did this analysis on the numbers of eminent domain, how much it will cost, and that's proof positive that you care. You care about the community, just like all our supporters do. So, if you could just explain a little bit about your analysis and throw out some numbers, I'd be
Yeah.
more than happy to listen.
Yeah. So a little bit about my background to give some context for this. I so I went to Bentley College. I originally went there for business to major in finance and accounting. I actually changed to computer science, and I've since worked in analytics for the better part of the past 10 years. I've been working for FM Global. I worked at first in their research division, and then I moved to data analytics to do that full time. So I'm all about analytics, numbers, research. That's pretty much my career forte and passion. So all throughout this process, a lot of numbers have always been thrown around and a lot of different proposals, but often they're usually without context. And for me, that's just as important as everything else because it really gives you the full effect of what these proposals have. So I started doing some research, and actually, the city of East Providence and the mayor, definitely kudos, do a really good job at putting a lot of our information out in the public. In particular, they created a new Power BI type of dashboard, which is something we use in analytics all the time. So it's really easy for me to go through and see exactly what our spending is, our projected budget for every different area, the projected cost impact, using all of those figures available publicly, as well as available public census data and market rates for current AA rated municipal bonds, which is what East Providence qualifies for. I can figure out exactly how much a potential bond would cost the city as well as the taxpayers itself. So wrapping all that up, if we had a $10 million bond, and I know that a lot of the different numbers have been thrown out for Metacomet, but let's just say 10 million, and we went for 20 years, that would work out to about a $600,000 per year total payment. Now, when you look at that compared to the rest of our budget, it's about a 0.35% increase in our spending. A really small increase. When you reflect that onto the average tax liability of a resident, it ends up being about $14 per year that a bond like that would cost the city and its residents.
So approximately $1.25, approximately the price of a cup of coffee at Cumbies.
Yep.
To say it, I have to say it. It seems a no-brainer, but you know, how about, and I know you're so efficient that you actually did an analysis of the new high school,
Yes.
um, and the costs. So if you don't mind explaining that also,
Yeah.
I like to compare. Yes.
Yeah. So I went to East Providence High School and I supported this bond and the high school renovation fully. I stand nothing to benefit from it. Obviously, I've graduated. I don't have any kids. So I do think it'll be a fantastic thing for the community, though, and great for the future. But it's a lot more expensive. The high school was originally estimated to have a tax burden of about $130 per resident per year, but it's actually closer to about $160 for fiscal year 2021. Further is that that's also very dependent on the reimbursement we get from the state. We're anticipating about $101 million out of the 186, but that's the most that we could possibly be entitled to. It doesn't mean that we're going to get 101 million. So that's the best case scenario. But either way, for the high school, you're looking at more than 10 times the potential tax liability for each citizen and a much larger portion of the budget.
Right. I also support the high school. Um, but it's a comparison. I don't have any stake in either one. So but one is definitely less and everybody can enjoy it.
Yeah.
Um, so now getting back to the costs, now you and I know that there's programs and grants galore for this
Yeah.
for this kind of land. So if you could just, throw out a couple of prominent ones, that
Yeah.
would be for everyone to hear. That would be great.
Yeah, that's actually one of the driving factors behind me getting more invested in this and more of my analytics time, I guess. I I think I was during during the presidential debate, I had heard one of them bragging about the Great American Outdoors Act. I looked into that further, and that was actually passed just at the end of the summer. And what that does is it gives about $900 million of federal grant money per year for exactly this type of thing. It's basically, sorry, cat's over here again. It's basically the same. I mean, it's basically the same thing that we're looking at here, where they want to, where the money is available specifically for creating recreational opportunities for communities, for creating parks, for maintaining green space, or for preserving it in any way whatsoever. And that's exactly the type of thing that we're trying to do here. And it's $900 million. I really can't believe that we can't qualify for some small portion of that, and that's available every year, $900 million. And there are literally dozens of other grant programs just like that with money available as well, whether it's environmental or wildlife conservation or parks and recreational activities. There's got to be more money out there that we can
Right,
take to reduce that $10 million.
right. There's also the beach clean water green economy bond.
Yeah, that's another great one as well, because so early on they had said that they wanted this Metacomet to be part of the Waterfront Commission because it technically qualifies as waterfront property. But because of that qualification, it also means that it can qualify for those types of grants and preservation efforts as well.
Correct, correct. And like you said, there are many, many that if we just put our heads together, we already know of a ton that we
Yeah.
could qualify for. But this is great. I love having conversations like this. But before we go, is there anything that you would like to say in closing?
Yeah. So for me, I feel like there are two things that stand out the most in a lot of my time spending, excuse me, in a lot of my time analyzing, kind of researching this stuff. And one is that I really passionately believe that this is something that would very much and very easily pay for itself. There are so many different studies out there related to this exact thing. If you just Google suburban park home values, you'll find dozens of different studies that show that suburban parks or suburban green space substantially increase the home values surrounding and have a major positive impact on the community. One study I read in Philadelphia showed that home values increased up to 32% within a mile of the park. Now, if home values increased by just 1% on average in the city, this park would more than pay for itself. it would generate more than $1.4 million in annual tax revenue. And even if you count the lost tax revenue from converting to a park, and you count the maintenance fees, and you count the $600,000 per year, it would come out to about a million, maybe 1.2 million at most. So if this park generated 1.4 million, it would pay for itself. And there are countless examples like this. There was a suburb in Philadelphia, I forgot the exact name, that had a 30-acre stretch of land that they converted to a park. And they estimated that they receive about $22 million in tax revenue from that. We only need 1.4 million to pay for this park indefinitely. So to me, that's one of the most powerful things. Like, I know it's a difficult process, and it's definitely a tough decision, but it's also, I think, an easy decision given the current circumstances. The other thing I think is really powerful is just that it's hard for us to really conceptualize how much land is being discussed here. I mean, we've all seen Metacomet, and it looks big, but like, how big is it? It's 120 acres, which for a lot of people, that doesn't mean much. Now, 20 to 30 acres of that is either underwater or kind of marshland, so we discount that. If we just focus on 60, which is what Marshall originally proposed for their Plan A, they would develop on 60 acres. Okay, so if we take half of that 60, now we're only looking at 30, or about 1/4 of the total park, you could fit 7 full-sized Walmart supercenters on that land with room for parking. 7 on just 30 acres out of the 120. It is so much land, and there is so much opportunity there. It's a little scary how much can be built on that amount of land. And just one Walmart supercenter, as an example, again, attracts about 4,000 to 5,000 people per day in foot traffic. If you had 7 of them, you're looking at 30 to 35,000. And all of that would have to be supported by that one road that's already way over capacity, that only has one entry and egress, 2, maybe if you take Broadway to 195. This area simply can't handle that amount of development. Now, of course, no one's going to build 7 Walmart supercenters, but just to give you an idea of how much land that's available, whether you split that up into dozens of smaller retail and restaurants or other things, whatever you decide to do, the point is that it's 7 Walmarts worth of land. And that's also only one story. If you build up multiple stories, multiply the numbers. You could easily have more than 10,000 people per day with that development, and hundreds of thousands of square footage of building space. It's too much. And it's more than this area can ever really support, unfortunately.
It is. I agree. And, you know, with the waterfront, the real waterfront being developed all the way from across Metacomet down to the boat landing. I mean, where are all those?
Where's all the traffic going to go?
Right. Yeah.
You're going to have to take a boat.
It is. It's crazy. And well, thank you so much, Derek. You have been so informative. And I just want to tell everyone listening that if you have any questions or you'd like to speak to Derek about his numbers, he's more than happy if you want to PM him, Derek Mendoza, or if you'd like to talk to one of the ladies of Keep Metacomet Green and ask us some questions, we're always happy to have a conversation with you. Once again, Derek, thank you. We treasure your support and your hard work. Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye, everybody.
Take care.